It is requested that you stay behind the chains!
Yeah. Welcome to Live in the Moment. We're broadcasting live from a sunny Tampa Bay. I'm Michael.
I'm Steven.
Welcome.
All right. So, on today's episode, I want to concentrate on Star Wars a little bit.
Okay.
Weirdly enough. And this is actually going back to The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And I'm not fully familiar with the full order and everything, because I've stopped caring as much about Star Wars.
The First Order? Is that what you're talking about?
See, if that's the name of one, I didn't even know. I mean, the sequence of films.
Oh, the sequence of
I'm
films.
not
Okay.
aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
talking
familiar. That's
Because
what
when
I
you said
mean.
the full order,
I
it
realized-
became ambiguous because there's
yes.
the First Order.
That's how
being a
little I
thing.
know.
Because they
It
were
is.
just kind of like thrust upon us in The Force Awakens, and sort of like, who are these? They gave us like almost no backstory in the opening crawl.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
Okay.
it's like, it was okay for the original Star Wars. It's like, you
Yeah.
just kind of have to take for granted everything that exists. But this one, it's like, wait a minute, you got to catch us up here, because we know what happened before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's not brand new. There's not as much room to still develop around the story. We know a lot. But I have clips specifically from Luke himself talking
Mark
about
Hamill.
it. So let's start with the first clip.
Oh, yeah. The scene that dare not speak its name.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to make them sorry they ever came up with that idea.
You know, I don't like being pushed out of my comfort zone. I thought, well, Harrison didn't get pushed out of his comfort zone. He's flying spaceships, making wisecracks and being cynical. Why am I so different? But it's really important for the story. And I came to realize, first of all, it's not my story anymore. You know, we really have to tell the story of the new protagonist. So, you know, eventually you have to trust Ryan, because he's the director and he wrote it, and I have such a bond with him. I thought, I don't think this is right for me, but I'm going to do the best I can to realize your vision. Because, you know, I'd much rather be so powerful I have force lightning coming out of my ears. And, you know, when we were doing the 7, Ryan said, oh, and by the way, I might have a couple of boulders floating to show your force emanating. So I was led to believe that I still had the force and that it was really strong in me.
That's funny too, because that would have changed the whole story if they
Of course. In fact, when I read 8 before 7 came out, I said, what? And I called, did I call JJ or Ryan? Somebody, I said, just say, are you guys aware of this? Have you seen a cut? Is there floating boulders? And they said, no, we caught that. We worked it all out. But that's the difference here. In the old days, there was an overall outline. This one's more like a relay race, where the first guy runs the race and hands the torch off. And then, you know, the same with Ryan. Whoever, or JJ now is going to take Ryan's story and figure it all out. So it's interesting. The new trilogy will be different because Ryan will have an overall outline for all 3 films.
The new what? The new trilogy? Is he talking about the one to follow this one?
I guess so. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Him talking about it.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yes.
Well,
And
actually, most of what there is to unpack is not in the video. It's not in what Mark Hamill said. It's the way the internet has treated every word that has come out of Mark Hamill's mouth. They've taken what Mark Hamill has said and been like, you know, he hated it and it was the worst thing ever and he didn't like it. That's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying for him as an actor who has spent some time developing a character, as he did across the original Star Wars trilogy, he feels that based on the direction his character was headed in the last film where he played that character, that where he is in The Last Jedi as a character is uncomfortable for him, because it is basically, we got to skip all the middle bit where he was just the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. So
and it could just be down to my ignorance, because I really don't know the films that well. I think I've proven that. But do they explain it exactly how it all kind of got there? I mean, maybe that's something they're trying to unfold later, and it may seem that way, but
there's a lot that's that I don't know how explicit they make it, honestly, in The Last Jedi. I've seen the movie a couple of times. I feel fairly confident about how it came about, but I can't point to specific lines. I can't quote you chapter and verse why I think the way I do about this. But basically, no, actually, I guess I did make it pretty explicit. But basically, time passes, some things happen. Forget about those things; they're not important, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Ben Solo, otherwise known as Kylo Ren,
Yes.
is old enough and is showing Force sensitivity. So Luke decides to train him to try to, and several others, to try to rebuild the Jedi Order. And he there's this moment where he is standing over. They show it in the movie. He's standing over Kylo Ren, and he just feels this darkness in him, and he starts to fear it. He's thinking, oh no, it's like the return of Vader, basically. So in a moment of weakness, and I'm sure we've all had these moments where you do something and then, like, just fast as you've done it, you're like, that was a bad idea, I shouldn't have done that. But it's too late, you already did it. Well, he had one of those moments, activating his lightsaber, standing over Kylo, and then was, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. What am I thinking? I'm going to kill my nephew? But it was too late. Kylo woke up and saw him standing there with a lightsaber. And then Kylo, fights free and everything. And I'm not entirely sure what he did. I can't remember all the details. But I think he destroyed some stuff and then either brought several of the other pupils with him and then killed the ones who wouldn't follow, or something like that. Basically, Luke pushed him to the dark side by being an idiot.
Yeah.
For a moment, and he deeply regrets it. And basically, he's just filled with such deep remorse over having done this that he decides to cut himself off from the Force and run away to go die alone. And that's how he winds up on the planet that he's on, with the original Jedi Temple. So that's the backstory as I understood it from watching the movie. And it makes sense. It is kind of a shame we get to miss, Luke. Who knows what he would have done between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. But by the time Force Awakens comes around, this has already happened. And he's already basically just waiting to die alone on this planet. Mm-hmm. And then we do get a glimpse of his Force powers there at the end, if you remember, when he has that moment where he faces Kylo Ren, but he's not actually there.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's still kind of tipped the hat off to all those people. It's like, yes, Luke was a total badass, but he was in remorse and cut himself off from the Force as a result. So I mean, I thought the story was well written and was a good direction for the character, but I can totally understand how someone who was expecting Luke to just be a badass is now like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, he never says, I regret doing The Last Jedi.
Oh,
if he said those words, then all these people would be right about him hating the role and all of that. He just felt uncomfortable because it wasn't where he thought his character should have gone. But and like he says, he defers to the director. It's not his story, it's the story of the new generation.
And even with deferring to the director, I mean, there's times, and we have some more clips, I'm not sure we're going to go through all of them, but even though he does seem to have some almost animosity towards him, like he also says, I would absolutely work with him again, like anytime.
Right.
Absolutely. He'd work with,
If you've never acted before, then you probably aren't familiar with what it's like to disagree with a director.
There's drama in drama.
Right.
It turns out.
Yeah. When you disagree with a director, assuming neither of you is just a total asshole, then, the director shares his thoughts, you share your thoughts, and maybe you argue a little bit about it, but then there comes a point where the director says, this is what we're doing, and then you say, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't mean...
that
doesn't mean that there's now, like... you hate each other, or that you hate the role you're doing,
it's
or that
work.
you hate the thing you're doing. Right.
It's relationships.
It's conflict resolution. It's normal, everyday stuff that people who just sit at home on the couch and watch YouTube all day don't really have to deal with. So,
Yeah. Interpersonal relationships. They're not easy, but they're necessary.
Right.
And the better we all are at it, the more comfortable we all are in
Right.
each other's.
But it's also that
Presence.
conflict resolution when you've got a group of people working towards a shared goal, and you have someone
Yeah.
who's directing that goal.
You have to have someone to rein it in at some
Right.
point to say, no, we're doing this.
Like, when have you ever done something with a group where you were all of one mind on everything? Never. Never.
No.
So it's not unusual. It's not some sign of some deep problem that there was a disagreement.
Yeah, they're just taken too seriously so many
Yeah.
times because it's such a part of life and a part of growing as a person that you need to be able to deal with the conflict.
Right. And you're welcome to dislike The Last Jedi, but don't be an
Yeah.
idiot about it.
I don't care for it, but I don't really care for
Movies, yeah.
yeah
it's like
movies
your
in
whole
general,
thing.
and then even just most recent Star Wars. It's like I still appreciate the original trilogy for
Right.
nostalgia's sake, and weirdly enough, probably the first one, the first remake,
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Well,
Because I was a kid I was at the right
very young
time,
children at that
and
time.
yeah, I don't have hate. I mean, Jar Jar Binks. Like I was young enough that he wasn't annoying, so
Right.
that's really what it was.
And he's not even that annoying now.
No.
I mean, he's definitely annoying. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's not annoying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's like it's intolerable. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't ruin the movie.
And I thought it was silly. Some people were like, "Oh, and it's racist because he's making fun of
'Cause he's a
people."
black
It's like,
guy?
okay, well, yeah, no, it's like it's a
played by a
black
black guy. That's why
voice
it's racist.
actor, so
Who's
obviously it
racist?
sounds black, and he's imitating like
Well, he
more like
wasn't
an
just a voice
Islander, and
Yeah,
because he acted out and all.
He was in all of those scenes. He was originally even in costume, and he just had
I
like a
gotcha.
Jar Jar head for a hat.
Okay,
And
I
they
think
were-
of it as voice acting,
Right, because
that's
they
how I
were-
ended up, but that makes sense.
Originally, they were just going to digitally do the face, but they found it was easier to just digitally replace him. But he is physically
Yeah.
there in all of those scenes. He's actually there, like they're actually looking at his hat.
That's good. You need something real to kind of
Right.
hold into it, but it's a black guy, so obviously it's going to sound black in some way. But then he's kind of imitating like some type of Islander,
Well, and even
Jamaican, or
that whole
all those
that
different
whole
things. It's
tact
just so
makes no sense.
It doesn't. Do you not understand the way people who speak in like one of the pidgin languages, which the other language, like in Africa,
Yeah.
or these different places, they have a certain sound to them. They have a certain rhythm. It's not racist to replicate it. I
Right.
don't. It's
Well-
crazy that
And-
so what do you do when you run into someone who naturally has that voice? Do you think they're kidding? Do you shout at them?
All right, so we were talking about Jar Jar.
We sure were.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Yep. So, so the idea that Jar Jar is a racist character is so mind-bogglingly ridiculous
It
to
is.
me because you have to literally ignore the entire subplot with the Gungans. Because the
Yeah.
whole point of that plot is you've got two species in this case that are different and they don't really trust each other because they're different. They don't really know each other, and they kind of keep to themselves. But by the end, they wind up learning that they're not so different, that they have a common interest, and they wind up being friends. So tell me how that's racist. Tell me how that's promoting bigotry.
People are just silly.
People don't understand what bigotry
It's
really
like
is.
people almost look for it like they're looking for an Easter egg,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I someone said something. Let me see if I can find out a way that I can call them a racist. It's like a game, like a
Yeah.
Tetris of racist.
Well, it seems like that, but it seems to me it's that people learn certain things, and then they start to associate other things with it. So
Yeah,
they're like, oh, they suddenly become aware of racism. They probably not correct what racism actually is, but they become aware of it, and now they start to associate all these things that they before didn't associate
Yeah.
with racism. And I think that's probably one of them. Well, and then you've of course got trolls in the back who just want to set people off.
yeah. Oh yeah, don't believe it at all, but convince other people to, and die
Right.
on the cross over it.
But to me, like, the way people rail against episode 1, because I was a child, I don't think I can actually give it a fair watch.
Yeah.
I just love it because I was the same age as, well, I still am the same age as Jake Lloyd. So, it really resonated with me to be the same age as the kid who's, special in this. But even now, I have to say Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie.
Really?
It's just god-awful. I just can't stand it.
just bad, huh?
Well, I didn't
So it's
really
been so
like
long.
it that
That's the
much when
second
I was
one,
a
right?
kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it that much as a kid. I never would have said that because I loved Star Wars. So naturally, I loved that movie. But it was because I wasn't able to differentiate things that well at the time. But I do distinctly remember getting through to the end of it and feeling almost a little let down, even as a kid. Just kind of this was okay. And it's, a lot of people blame the actors, and yes, there was some horrendous acting in that. But frankly, that falls on the director.
Yeah.
Because, well, and I've heard that George Lucas's directing style is basically non-existent. He just sets you up in the scene, you're in costume, you got the lines, and he just says go, and then he records a couple of takes, maybe, and gives you no feedback, doesn't tell you anything about what he wants out of the scene, doesn't tell you what you did wrong and what he'd like to see you do better.
Wow.
It's basic things, like the role of the director is to do that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's basically you get
I
the
watched
lines.
an interview with George Lucas, talking about directing, and he said one of his favorite projects was Indiana Jones, because he didn't have to direct it. That was one of his favorite projects. He's like, I had the best director in the world doing it. Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, because he's a pretty good writer. I mean, dialogue could use some work, but as far as story structure.
Oh, he understands story.
Yeah.
No,
He's a
crazy.
pretty good writer.
When you hear him talk about it, you go, oh.
Yeah.
They understand it at such a deeper level.
And he has a neat creative vision when it comes to things like, basically with the aliens for Star Wars. He has an idea of what he wants it, and then he gets a creative team that puts together a bunch of different, they make little clay figures, and then he looks at him and says, I like the stuff on this guy and the stuff on that guy. Can you do me a new... so he's got good creative visions there, because, I mean, no one complains about Star Wars having, stupid, ugly looking aliens. I don't think. It's not a complaint I normally hear. Maybe you feel
with the exception of Jar Jar, yeah.
Well, but even then, it's his personality that everyone complains about. They don't look at him as that species is poorly designed. That species is offensive to me. No, it's that character is annoying.
And he is.
And he is.
He is.
So, he's got good creative vision there, but you gotta give feedback to your actors. I mean, because unfortunately, because we all blame the actors, because they're the ones in front of the camera that we see delivering a shitty performance. Let's be honest. They take the blame, and then their career is over. Although Natalie Portman went on, because, I mean, she was pretty bad through that middle bit in Attack of the Clones too.
Yeah.
But mostly because of how utterly uncomfortable those lines were. I don't know. You probably don't remember it. That
yeah, no. I haven't seen it in so long, but
I honestly, I formed my own opinions on this stuff because I just don't get what the common criticisms are a lot of the time. Everyone complains about the sand line. That one wasn't that offensive to me.
The sand line?
Yeah, it's like, I hate sand. It's coarse and gets everywhere and all
that. Yeah. Okay.
Everyone complains. That's the joke.
Mm-hmm.
But that is mild compared to the stuff that follows it. I mean, holy
Maybe most people
crap.
just tune out at that point. They're like, I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to hit the pisser.
Man, I can't even quote it. It's so bad I can't accept it into me. Maybe that's why.
It doesn't make cognitive sense, so you can't hold on to it. Maybe that's why no one can repeat it. I can't. It didn't make sense. I don't.
it made sense. It was just so awkward. It was like, well, I mean, there are some movies that lay bare the human condition, if you will, what actually goes on in our heads, and most of them do a much better job of it than George Lucas did here. Because it's not even like the stuff that they were saying is stuff that was unrelatable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the delivery and the context. It's like, oh, these are people speaking their minds to each other, and there ain't no way it would have gone this way. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It was just... And that's why the actors couldn't figure out how to deliver the stuff. And then if it doesn't give them direction...
Yeah. This is worse, yeah.
Right, it just snowballed. And I guess probably the main reason why Natalie Portman's career didn't end is that she was able to figure out most of it. It's just that particular scene was just impossible for anyone to figure out. And then Hayden Christensen's performance for most of it was just, he needed more guidance and structure, I think. Because he's not necessarily, you know, he's a reasonably good-looking guy, you know, looks good on the screen anyway, fits the scene well, appearance-wise, but it just...
Yeah, he just didn't have
line
that...
delivery, that insight.
He didn't have the
into what he's
charisma
saying.
that
Right.
he should, you know, he
That he
probably could
could
have
have
honed.
had.
He probably, yeah, because...
Given the correct guidance. And I really don't get... A lot of people also say that Jake Lloyd's performance was terrible and people blame him for ruining Star Wars. I don't get it. What was so bad about his performance?
I have kind of a theory on part of that, because we hit it at that sweet spot, so then we,
Right.
you know,
Of
appreciate
course.
that. But then I think other people had seen it when they were a kid, the one in the 70s, and they hit that one, and it was like geared towards kids, and it's like some of the issues I think some people are having with the most recent ones, because I just don't really care.
Right.
Some people are really upset, and it's like that makes me sad. It hurts my heart when I see
Right.
that, 'cause it's like, it's a movie, guys.
Right.
Grow up.
Yeah.
I don't get that. So I think it's the same thing, but just they were 20s or something when that one came out, and like, oh well, that's dumb, but they missed it, the dumb stuff in the first one, or the earlier ones.
Well,
I mean my timeline didn't make sense
No.
with that,
The best Star Wars movie, most people agree, not everyone, most people agree, is The Empire Strikes Back. And that one, the original Star Wars was low budget, it was directed by Lucas, it was a smash success. You know, everyone loved it, and it was
and they didn't
surprising.
expect that. Like,
Right.
He originally thought he was going to do the trilogy, but then he smashed it all together because they're like, well, if this isn't going to sell, we better have an ending.
I don't know about that.
That was in his thing he was talking
Was
about. Yeah.
Well,
So they made it all happen in the first one, which is
Okay.
why it seems like a complete, you know, and they destroy it. But then they made it work through the next ones.
Yeah.
The story all worked great, but
Right.
Like, okay, well, how do we do that again?
well, but the main point being, like,
Yeah.
it was new, and it,
Yeah.
you know, established itself for being new, and people loved it. Then The Empire Strikes Back, they had a budget and a different director.
Mhm.
So, and you had established characters, and I think
Makes sense, yeah.
I think Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford were good choices because they were able to make those characters work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the failing of the actors that were chosen for the prequel trilogy, but it's
Yeah.
still on the director. Like, the director should have been able to give them more structure so they could have given the best performance possible. But Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford really brought out the best in those characters. And then The Empire Strikes Back, because it wasn't directed by Lucas, was just that much better. And that was the thing. The whole prequel trilogy was directed by Lucas. But going back to the Jake Lloyd thing, like, people talk about it like he ruined Star Wars. And I'm not going to say Jake Lloyd gave a perfect performance as Anakin Skywalker, because he didn't. There were things he could have done better, but that does go into direction. But what was so bad about it? I mean...
What with his character or his portrayal of the character?
Right.
Yeah, because why him? Like, if it's... I almost understand just the character more, but even that, I couldn't isolate why. But,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't understand what they're upset about.
What was so bad about his performance? I mean,
Like,
maybe
that's not
someone
how I
can
picture
enlighten me.
Anakin?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm asking honestly. It's not a rhetorical, like, see, those people are wrong. They can't answer me. Like, please. I don't know actually how I would get your answers on this, but
Yeah.
you can work that out.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure he knows what
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah. What was so bad about Jake
What
White's
about
performance?
that kid? Just
Because I thought it was just fine.
rubbed you the wrong way. I don't get it.
I mean, because it's gone on to really haunt him because he got made fun of in school and all kinds of stuff. You know, kids are just mean, so that's why he was
They
made
are
fun
just
of in
mean,
school. But I don't know why, like, adults or anyone who would watch that would say that it was an egregious performance. You know,
Yeah.
not Oscar worthy, but you know, how many kids come out
Yeah,
and
and
give
it's-
an Oscar worthy
And
performance?
see, that's come to that strong language that people are using even in this newer stuff. And I heard Kevin Smith was kind of talking about it, like talking about how people have been talking about it. It's like they ruined their childhood or something. It's
right?
like-
Yeah.
I-
Chill out. It's a
Until
movie.
some of this stuff has been happening with these different movies, because there's arguably some pushes towards like they kind of insert certain politics into movies, but you know the movie's still like a movie in its own right, and I don't know. I didn't realize how much people put stock into movies until all this stuff was happening. Everyone's just like, "Oh every fiber of my being is down to this small selection of movies," and if they aren't, you know, I don't understand.
I don't
Is that really
understand.
where you get your personal identity? Because that's sad.
Yeah.
It scares me to know that
I-
a lot of people feel that way or have.
I love movies. I love going
There's
to see
nothing
the
wrong
movies.
with loving movies.
I love the Star Wars franchise. I'm not a big fan of the newest Star Wars movies. This new trilogy.
But you don't hate them.
Not a big fan.
But
of
you
it.
don't hate them.
But
you
I
can-
don't feel like they've ruined my childhood because they
That's
released some
crazy.
movies that I didn't like that much. You know, it's like I really like the first Alien movie. I just watched that for the first time
Oh, yeah?
not that long ago. When the credits roll, it's like the credits take like 15 seconds. Hardly anyone worked on that. But they
Wow.
made a magical movie. You know, it's just like it was really good. You know, there are a lot of rough edges, but you look at the size of the crew, and this was the first one.
Yeah.
It wasn't this big series like it is now that everyone has heard of Alien. It
Mhm.
was Ridley Scott trying to make a movie, you know, on a
Oh
budget,
yeah.
and it just
magic.
did so much right. And then the second one, Aliens, which was written and directed by James Cameron, is just awful.
Yeah. Just,
But it didn't ruin the first one for me. You know, I still like the first one. I'm not like, Alien, like, that second one was so bad, I don't think I can like Alien anymore. And of course, I'm watching much, much later than these movies came out. But, well, another bad one actually was The Predator, but it's like a cult classic. It's just not a very good movie. But you'd kind of need to see it if you want to get a lot of cultural references. But Alien is a good movie. I was worried. I had it on a watch list, and I wasn't sure I wanted to watch it because I was thinking it was going to be like another one of those crappy 80s action movies.
Yeah.
that people seem
But
to
all
love.
of a sudden you're just like, it's like, what's that clay shit doing? Is that are we for real right now?
Well, I mean, it's not so much that bothers me.
No,
you
yeah,
know, because that's
but there's
they're
clearly
trying.
the big effects difference.
Well, no, it's the
Which is
dialogue,
funny,
it's the story
Yeah.
is crap, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Aliens was. It was like the dialogue and the story were kind of crappy. The effects were awesome. I'm not gonna. Well, I would not say
See,
anything
but that,
against
yeah,
the
but that's
effects
not
of
what
Aliens.
makes the movie.
Right, but this is James Cameron we're talking about. Of course, the effects are awesome, and the movie kind of sucks. You know, I mean, like a really cool fight scene where she's in the main gal there, Sigourney Weaver's in this.
Like Mechbot or
I don't
like
know what
the
to call it, like a
Rock'em
lifter.
Sock'em
I think they call it a
robot.
lifter or something like that.
Okay.
But it's got these, you know, it's like an exoskeleton kind of an idea that you stand in it and then control these robotic arms and pick it up. And she fights with this queen of the alien hive, and the effects are really cool. I did not care when that scene came around.
Oh,
I
wow.
just, you know, that's where I'm at with movies. if I had seen that when I was younger, I probably would have liked it. But where I'm at, you gotta have a good story. If your story sucks, I don't care about the rest of your movie. And that's kind of where I was with the Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I didn't really like
The story really has to grab me, and that's hard
Yeah,
because it
You're
could just
picky.
be my mood or something. I don't know.
you're really picky.
But
too.
I am.
I think.
But
think
I
you
definitely.
have-
I mean, there's so many. There definitely have been movies that just they'll grab me. I'll go, oh, no. It's I don't hate movies. Just a lot of them suck to me. Like, and it's just.
And I think
It's
you
taken a
have-
long time for me to even just admit that I don't like a lot of the movies because
Right.
I had seen so few that I did actually like that it's
Yeah.
hard for me to even realize. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't like a lot of movies.
I think you
They
could
don't, they don't
like
speak
more.
to me. I could.
I think you
probably.
could like more if you were able to set aside certain things that are like no goes for you. Like if certain
Okay.
things happen in a movie
Yeah.
and you're just like, nope, I don't care now. It's like if you were able to set those, and that's not like. It's not like something you do at the drop of a hat. It's not like, hey,
You know.
lose 15 pounds. It's the same idea, you know. Sure, I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
But if
Have
you
it by
were-
tomorrow night.
yeah, if you were able to let go of some of those things and just let them, it's the willing suspension of disbelief
hmm
kind of a thing. Because
Well, and there's that, but then if it needs to make sense within the universe. Because I do get that, but there was I think it's Lost in Space, something on Netflix. Did you try watching that?
no,
Well, I watched part of the first episode, and they end up on this ice planet. Like they land in, it's like a whole like family, and it was like a mostly white family, but then there's like just one like black daughter, and I was really confused because the parents are both white, and I'm like, does he know? Like but I guess it was like from a previous. Probably not marriage, but a previous something, and then so I continued on. But that I was confused by that for a little while. I'm like, I get the whole diversity thing, but come on, like,
Right.
how hard do you have to reach?
Right.
It's like
It's
a white
fine.
family can't be white. Like, I don't know. It didn't bother me that
Right,
But,
yeah, no,
but
no.
anyway, it really didn't matter. What pissed me off that I just thought was funny. I was
right,
Like,
yeah,
I'm
it's
like really.
it's like a bold face, like okay, you're
Yeah.
just trying to insert some.
Hey, we
diversity
put in a
or
black
something.
woman. You can't say we're racist. Okay, we're just trying to write a story.
Right,
We're just trying to
right.
get people to watch it.
I'm sure she's fine, whoever she is.
Oh yeah.
I've never
No,
seen it.
what bothered me had nothing to do with the actors.
Right,
It was
yeah.
the writing, because it was insane. They land on this ice planet. Okay, they're in this giant ship, and then inexplicably the ice ends up breaking and like swallowing the ship. And I assumed weight, but then the inexplicably comes here soon. So it goes in. There's now open water in a pretty big space near them because it just broke through the ice, and it's deep in the water. Okay, they're all wearing these special spacesuits and things. They realize that the atmosphere is breathable, and they go through a couple things. Then they're like, oh, well, we need to make sure we have a certain piece of equipment from the thing. The dad would have done it, but he had a hole in his suit, and there'd be an issue with the water. So then they sent, I think it was actually the black daughter, but they sent her to go do it. She had no problem doing it. She jumped in. She was grabbing the stuff. And partway through her, deep in the ocean, the concern wasn't, you're going to end up getting too cold
Right.
and dying
Frost,
from in there.
yeah.
That was never a concern because I guess the suit was magic.
Okay,
But
I can buy that.
sure, spacesuit, what, fine. So she's deep inside the ship. Gets what she needs, but then she's taking a little too long. They're like, hey, I don't know how soon it's going to freeze again. Now, just right off the bat, does that make any sense to you? Like, understanding how water freezes, is there a time constraint in that kind of a time frame?
Well,
Right? Without it, well, people taking off helmets now, so it's not cold enough to just freeze your lungs. So it's not that kind of rapid cold.
right. That's
So,
That's
okay.
a good question.
Oh, it gets worse. So she's in the middle of the ship. As soon as he mentions that, of course.
It freezes over
But where does it start freezing first?
the middle.
Inside of the ship.
Inside of the ship.
which is deep down in the ocean. In the inside, it starts freezing from the inside out. She's running away from the freezing,
I couldn't even guess.
and
that
catches
was
her
so-
coming up, and then it literally freezes completely around her, totally encasing her in ice. Just inches from the top. I was so mad. I was shaking, shouting at the television at how little sense that fucking made. Are you kidding me?
If you're an aspiring writer,
That is, I mean,
keep this in
so
mind.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of
write
movies
ridiculous
don't
shit.
mess it up like that.
Don't
but
write ridiculous
holy shit.
I mean, you can have dramatic tension, and you can use if you're going to
How
use
little
some
do
kind
you
of,
understand about physics to do that? Because what freezes first? The top layer. That's how you can skate, and then people can fall in and then die because
Why-
it's
No,
it's insane
I
to
mean,
me.
even beyond that,
I mean, it started
why-
from the bottom and froze up,
why would the ship have
broken through. If it was
broken
solid,
through and then sunk? Yeah, if it was solid, it just would have. Like,
it wasn't that.
gradually
Was it super
sunk.
hot? No, because it wouldn't have unfrozen that much of the water.
Yeah.
No, it made zero sense no matter how
Yeah.
you sliced it.
Yeah,
it,
no,
it
that's-
killed me. I could not watch. Luckily, we switched to
Right.
something else. I don't think it was even because it was that bad. We just realized something else to watch. But I did not want to keep watching. That's the kind of stuff that
I think these
Oh.
writers need to do a better job of picking when to insert dramatic tension.
Oh, and it just felt like they were trying to just like, oh, you, and then I'm supposed to feel bad that it's just like she's in this tense situation now. It's like, give me a break. What a
Right.
contrived scenario to begin
Well,
with.
yeah,
and
and
then
that's-
it's like,
that's
and
what
then actually because she gets frozen in, they're concerned. They're trying to get, they can't break through the ice and stuff because this is the most magic fickle ice I've ever seen in my life. But he can't break through, and then they're worried about how much oxygen she has left now, and so, you know. And then the girl's talking to her through the walkie-talkie, and they have this like moment. She's like crying, "Oh, you might die," and she's still down there for another like 15 minutes after that scene. So what was the point of that? Like they had the whole, oh no, you're about to die, but then she didn't, and they just kind of moved on and kept doing other stuff with the story. She's still under the ice. So it's like, we're gonna tug on your heartstrings now. I don't know if these writers think that they're just so clever and so much smarter than everybody that it's like, oh man, they're gonna love this. They're gonna think this is hilarious. They're just so wrong.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I don't think it's
comes
most
from
writers.
I don't think it comes from a place of superiority. I don't think it comes from writers thinking that they're better than everyone else.
Or think
I think
people are
it's-
dumb. Like,
I think it comes from writers, some writers, not all writers, but the writers that do this, they're either pressed for time, so they just try to make something work.
well, their writers are probably pressed for time.
Right. So it's either that, or they just have no knowledge or understanding outside of the film.
Yeah.
You know, film and TV. So it's kind of like
There were so many other ways they could have made that same thing dramatic. I mean,
Right.
it could have been like her air broke or something, and it's like running out of oxygen.
right.
I mean,
right. She
really
got snagged
legitimate-
on something, you know, and it tore her suit, and now she's got to get the heck out of there as fast as she can.
If it froze over, it would have just been the surface, and I could have bought that. And you know, not even by a lot.
Right.
It still would have been a panic if you
Of
throw in
course.
the air thing. I
of
mean,
course.
they could have done
It's-
it, but instead, you know, it's a random. All of a sudden, it just turns into a popsicle. That's just not how physics work.
Right. I mean, either they all would have suddenly been in danger of hypothermia because the temperature
yeah.
dramatically dropped. And that's even plausible. That there's some sort of, like, the
Exact-
sun goes
I
down and now
could've-
the whole area gets so
I
friggin'
could have
cold.
bought it if it was
Right.
so clearly that cold, but your lungs would have frozen if it's the kind of cold that instantly freezes. How many gallons of water? I mean, the physics on.
Yeah, because
that
water
takes a lot.
resists state change because it takes a lot to change it. And because, I mean, even when the thing broke, it's not like it melted ice, right? The
No,
ice cracked and then it went through the cracks and then you had
broke
like,
in and fell and sunk. That it only makes sense if it.
right. But
Yeah.
But the point being that it's not
Yeah.
like the ice melted. If the ice didn't melt, it's not like
It's gonna freeze
the
again,
new
yeah.
exposed water is going to freeze instantly, because it didn't melt instantly. So it's not
Yeah.
going to freeze instantly. You'd think something that just entered the atmosphere would have been hot enough to melt the ice.
Yeah.
You know,
I
as soon
totally
as they
bought the
touched it.
first plunge, but it's the...
Right, yeah.
It was at that point when it started freezing from inside the ship. I'm like, there's no freaking way they're doing that. Because, like, you see the little crystals starting to turn into ice forming, like, inside the ship around the action.
And that probably didn't bother some people.
Well, apparently, if it apparently didn't bother a whole crew of people, or, well, maybe it did. You know, I don't know who all it bothered within, but it had to clear a lot of channels to get there.
Well, and I just mean audiences. I'm sure
Yeah,
there
I
are
wonder.
plenty of
Yeah, I
people
wonder
in-
how many catch that.
Give us your thoughts. If
There's a lot of little things that maybe aren't like perfectly scientifically accurate, but that just felt like
That's
such
okay.
an egregious affront to my
Right.
intelligence.
Right.
I couldn't take it. Like, there's so many physics things I would not understand or begin to be able to question. But freezing water is a basic.
Yeah. And the nature. Of,
You know, as Noah, have you made a popsicle? Like, it takes time, and it freezes unevenly.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's crazy. Made no sense.
That is disappointing.
I
I probably was never going to watch the show, but yeah, I really can't stand those kind of crappy, hamstrung, you know, what's it called? Dramatic tension, where they're just jamming it in. Probably, I mean, that really sounds like a deadline to me. Like someone had to make a decision because they needed to move on, because they needed to do something else.
Yeah, they wanted to be cliche with the run out of air thing with water. Let's have it freeze from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching that, and it's not cheap to do those effects.
No.
It would have taken a long ass time
Yeah.
for someone to sit there and go, "This is dumb." Like, I would hope at least one a person putting that together, going, "This doesn't really make sense. But I'm gonna make it look as cool as I can."
Right.
Because it didn't look, it looked like what it would have looked like. It was just unrealistic.
Right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a cool effect. Crazy.
Well, I wonder that there is another possibility, is that this was proposed by an effects guy.
Well, yeah, possibly by the guy who did that job.
Right.
It's just like, I could just do the surface, but it'd be really cool if we started from inside.
Right.
It's just like that.
I mean,
so many hours were added to that project
Right.
thanks to that one call. Maybe that's it.
Well, but still, because it's like a plot thing. Well, maybe I don't know.
It was the
It
plot
might
thing.
even
It's
be
like,
that the director was originally thinking, yeah, we'll just have the top freeze over. But no, I mean, they
No,
got
even that
footage of
doesn't make
the
sense.
person acting as if they were getting frozen into the. Yeah, no, that was a director call. That couldn't have just been. A special effects guy.
Exactly. It had to clear a lot of channels because that's a lot of money that was being spent. It was a lot of effort to do that. To make a scene that makes zero sense.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
It is. I don't know how you missed that, but let's kind of change the mood by watching a guy be really rude to his co-anchor.
Oh my gosh, adopt her. Okay, Charlie, I'm going to sit here and just hang out with my new best friend, Bettina.
Really?
Get to weather. Oh, yeah.
I think you two should get a hotel room or something. That's a lot of action going on over there.
Oh, Charlie.
Probably the most action you've had in months. Let's take a look at the weather.
That guy's a savage. A certified savage.
Certified savage who should be in fear for his job. That is not appropriate.
That was not okay. And he's the only one laughing. I guess I'm the only one laughing. It's like, yeah, but that was too far.
That's one of those moments, like, that was a sick burn, but the wrong time. Totally the wrong time. Because that is something friends can say to each other.
Yeah.
But not on live TV. I mean, podcasts are different, but even then.
Yeah, no, you have to understand the people's rapport, and
Yeah.
that it's hard to do that in a transition.
When you're a news anchor and a weatherman. Sounds like they broke up or something. Like they had been together, and then broke up, and then he's
like that guy sounded scorned.
Yeah.
that's true.
Or maybe
She was just living her best life with the dog, and he's like, no, I don't want to see her happy.
Yeah. Maybe he hadn't seen action in months and he was
That's-
just projecting.
Yeah, probably. Let's see.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Did you know I have a mompreneur idea?
Do you?
Yeah, and I'll give it away just for the sake of
Here's one for
good banter, if you want to call it that. When my son was teething, he used to like to take the big fat rubber end of my vibrating toothbrush and put it in his mouth and
Okay.
he'd just kind of sit there like, oh yeah, that feels good. That hit the spot. Like,
Look at the hangers. He's like,
Oh man! I mean, it was like the big fat rubbery end of my vibrating toothbrush.
And then he just takes it, and just goes. And the other egg just. And this guy gets shut the hell down, and it's hilarious.
Hey, well, which one of the other players on the other team would you say are your biggest competition in this game?
No one.
Well, you have lost 3 matches in a row, so that kind of makes you the underdogs in this game, right?
No hesitation. Just whoosh.
Right. An idiot.
Yeah, right. Well, you did just lose 3 times in a row, so.
Yeah.
And this guy brings new expression to party at 1.
He did not know his audience.
You like his complex setup? Looked like an end table with like
Well, and then the lights and all of that bass, and his audience was clearly not into that, what he was playing.
No. He just was not an exciting presence, like, at all.
No.
So, back to Star Wars. Maybe.
Well, I did actually
'Cause we
try to
covered pretty
watch
good.
some Lord of the Rings lately, if you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. How was
When was the last time you watched it? That you can remember. If you can't remember, that's fine too.
probably been like at least a year, but I feel like I
Relatively
made an
recently?
attempt to watch it more recently-ish.
That's right.
Since I've been an adult, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big difference, I think. Some movies, if you only watched it as a kid, you haven't watched it yet.
Right. How do those movies make you feel?
How do they make me feel?
Yes.
Well, I know how Liv Tyler makes me feel. Well, they're adventurous. I mean, they get a lot of attention, that kind
Well,
of
I mean,
thing.
do you like them?
Yeah. I seem to remember liking them.
Like,
You know?
an overall positive.
Overall positive vibes that, it may feel like it goes too long, but anything feels too long to me. And they are long.
I was never a big fan of that series. It was never
Okay.
a series that really resonated with me the way it has with a lot of.
I wasn't diehard, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, but I was less than not just Die Hard. I was like, I could go my life and never see these movies again. But I watched The Fellowship of the Ring a couple weeks ago, and I enjoyed it. That one's probably better than I remember. Probably a good example of, well, not a good example, but like a good movie to watch. But I tried watching The Two Towers the other day, and it knocked me out. I passed out in the middle of it. And I wasn't tired going into watching this movie.
Yeah.
This wasn't like, I'm sleepy, I think I'll try to watch The Two Towers, because I'm smarter than that. I knew
Yeah.
I was going to struggle anyway. Man, that thing put me to sleep.
Oh, man.
Because it's like, it's exciting at first, and, there's interesting stuff going on, and then you hit this point where you're like, I think they should stop it and just make another movie after. It just, there was a point, everything just slowed to a crawl, and then I lost interest and I stopped caring and lost consciousness.
Yeah, I've lost consciousness in movie theaters a few times.
I don't usually lose consciousness in movies either. That's the thing. Like if it's something, there are people that just fall asleep in every movie because all movies are boring to some people.
I'm getting closer to
not.
that point.
I'm the opposite. Like even if I'm not liking a movie, usually I'll stay awake through it. Like while I was watching Aliens, it didn't put me to sleep. I just didn't like it. I was just like annoyed at each plot point. I'm just like, this is so poorly written. The dialogue is crap here. James Cameron's an idiot.
At least it didn't freeze from the bottom up.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. James Cameron does not know how to write a screenplay. But he does do really cool special effects. So he'd probably be better as like a special effects guy. You know, like a special effects director. And then let other people write the screenplay and do the directing. Because, I mean, I don't know that he's a bad director because I don't know how he directed his actors. But his vision is just retarded.
It's held back, slowed down.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We're broadcasting this. I probably shouldn't have said retarded.
It's impolite.
Yeah. No offense to actual retarded persons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with people, so it's like if someone has a condition, I'll treat you like anybody else. I don't think that matters. And obviously, you weren't referring to anyone in particular, or any particular disease or ailment.
Well, the criticism of doing what I just did is that you're furthering a stigma. But I don't know that that's that much of a.
That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think you're.
Well,
No,
I mean,
you're
the
being
stigma
mean. You're being rude, and there's always a good argument to not be rude.
Right. Yeah. Well, but the stigma for retarded persons, you know, that. But even then, I mean, the world has improved a lot. I think. I mean, it's still not perfect. There's definitely still a lot of shenanigans, but
yeah.
But
But we are living in probably one of the most like opportunity-filled times.
Yeah.
One of the most in history
for people who have some disability or other, physical or otherwise. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back and try to watch The Two Towers again or pick up where I left off or anything like that.
Yeah, if you fall asleep, you should just let it go.
Yeah.
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 You know, and I fell asleep during Thor Ragnarok, but that was like a really good one, though.
Yeah, that's just strange to me. I mean...
Well, and that's... What was weird about that one is, I think... And I can't remember, because they all kind of bleed together when you sleep in them, but...
Right, of course.
But that was one that... I didn't dislike it, but even though I slept through a lot of it, I still followed it completely.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's like I fought, you know, and then... Because Colleen was quizzing me afterwards, because she saw I fell asleep. She's like, did you even, like, watch it? It's like, yeah, it was alright. You know, it's like, do I want to see it again? You know, that's kind of what it comes down to for me. And a lot of times I don't really care to see it again.
Right.
But then she starts quizzing me on what the actual plot was. And I'm like, yeah, well, then this, and that happened for that. And that. It's like, oh, well, you got it, but you didn't like it, okay.
Yeah.
I know I annoy the crap out of her with that, so.
Well,
if you see this, sorry.
A lot of those kind of movies are designed to have very followable plots.
Yeah.
So it's
that's probably why I'm
designed for you to fall asleep and still know what's going on, I think. Because well, and I think it's just down to the simplicity of the plot more so than that's what they were going for. But if you make the plot too complex, you lose people.
Mm-hmm. You do.
And some people really like a complex plot, but then some of the people that write complex plots, like, I mean, how many really good complex plots do you have in you before you just start repeating yourself? Probably not too many. Or you start making up crazy stuff, and then it starts to be like, all right, this is child's play, because it's like, I know how the outcome is going to turn out, even if I don't know exactly how you're going to get there, and it's no longer interesting to me because there's always some kind of phenomenon that you're going to bring up at the last second. It's the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Is that?
God in the machine. You know, it's some kind of hitherto unrevealed power or machine or something that's going to save the day, and you know, there's never any real dramatic tension because you just know it's going to be fine. It's like when you kill off the main character in a thing. It's like,
yeah, it's in. I think it's like what was wrong with Superman.
Oh, the
where
Batman
it's
v
it
Superman?
just was it the Batman v?
That's when he died. Yeah.
I think I only saw Superman. I think I didn't want to see the other one. I only saw Man of Steel. But the whole he's just invincible.
Yeah.
It's really actually the issue with Superman. It's like it's not interesting. There's no tension. There's no. I don't feel like I never felt like he was about to die. It was just like just watching people wrestle in the air, and the one guy just like is killed.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought they were invincible.
Breaks.
Oh, but then they're not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
His neck broke.
I'm glad it's over, but I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
Well, and the reason I immediately jumped to Batman v Superman is because Superman dies in that one. Spoiler alert. Yeah, and it's like, you killed off the main guy in your franchise. Is anyone going to believe that? And actually, because they, spoiler alert, Avengers spoiler alert, they killed off a lot of main guys in Avengers at the end of Avengers. And some people were saying, oh, they're just pulling a DC. Here's why it's different. And I'm not like a Marvel fanboy. I don't really read comics. I don't care if they're successful. I happen to enjoy their movies, but if I didn't, I wouldn't go see them. But a lot of like core characters die off at the end of that Avengers movie. But it's very, very clearly a part one. It's very clearly not the conclusion of the movie. You know, the conclusion of that particular movie, because, you know, you're not going to sit there for 5 hours watching a movie. But it's very clearly the end of a chapter in a 2-part or 3-part or however many parts it ends up being tale. And the dramatic tension is not like, these characters are dead. Oh no, it's permanent. No one is actually meant to leave the theater thinking that all of these characters, who the actors have contracts for more films, you know, it's like no one is expected to leave the theater thinking that all these characters are permanently dead. This is a plot point of dramatic tension to discover how it is that they overcome this thing and bring these characters back. And that's the anticipation of the next movie. Whereas with Batman v Superman, they tried too hard to sell to you that it was permanent, so it could be a surprise later. That's the feeling I got, because I never saw Justice League, which he does come back in that. I think spoilers. I don't know. I've never seen the movie, but he no one's surprised by it, and it seemed to be the way they sold it in Batman v Superman that he was permanently dead, and that was the end of him. But no one bought that. You know, I mean, it's like, even in Star Trek, spoiler alert.
Man, you're just dropping spoilers all over the place.
Oh, but this is the old one, not the...
Yeah, I figured.
Even then, the new one.
Is there a new one? I don't know.
Well, there have been 3 of the new ones, and they're not that new anymore. There's not.
Okay, then I know of them.
But the Wrath of Khan, the end of that, Spock dies. Spoiler alert. But then the next movie is called The Search for Spock, I think, because he comes back. So it's like, even that one, it's like, oh, you know, you feel the pain that Kirk is going through having lost his friend. But there's kind of like a clue at the end that Spock's going to come back, and then you're interested in how that plays out. But the tension was never in selling that Spock is permanently dead, and now he's just gone, and now you're just going to move on and pretend like, you know, everything's fine. You know, you got to understand where the dramatic tension comes from when you write a plot element. and so much of the crap these days just fails to understand where the dramatic tension is. What is the thing that the audience is going to be interested in? You can't jam it down their throats. You have to, when you come up with an idea, you have to figure what is it that they're going to like about this. Or what would I like? Better yet, think of it this way. What would I like about this if this was in someone else's movie? Mm-hmm. What would I be interested in knowing? Not what do I want other people to be interested in knowing. What would I find interesting about this? And if you can't say anything, or you're trying to dictate to the audience how they should feel about a thing, you're not writing a good plot element. Because it's not that main characters die. It's that you expect us to believe that they're permanently dead, and you don't tip off that they're coming back, and that it's going to be interesting. Because right now with the Avengers thing, it's like, it's such a cliffhanger, because basically the bad guy won, but you know that's not permanent. But it's like, oh my god, I can't wait to find out how they get out of this, because they're dead. Like, they disintegrated at the end of the movie. Like, and these were guys that we were all expecting more movies from, not the core guy. Like, because when I went into it, I kind of had gotten a hint that people had died, main Avengers were dying. And I'm thinking, Iron Man's going to die, maybe Captain America's going to die, because they can reasonably die permanently. I don't know what their contract status is, but they could reasonably die permanently because they've had 3 of their own movies. They've been in 3 Avenger movies, And it wouldn't be the end of the world to sunset that character for now and then revive him later on sometime when they reboot everything. It's like, I would have been okay with that. Like, if Iron Man had died, if Captain America had died, I'd have been like, it's the end of an era. It kind of like puts the button on that, closes the casket on that. Because we have all these other characters to explore in the new movies. And they're by no means the only Avengers. So... Yeah. But because it was all the new guys that died, and none of the old guys that you're thinking could have stood to die, maybe, to keep things fresh. So that's why you get to that, and you're just like, yeah, they're not permanently dead. They're coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that one?
No. No, I didn't.
Another one I watched just last night, actually, was... what's it called? Blade Runner 2049, because it was available through my HBO in Amazon Video, and that was interesting. It wasn't offensive. I got through the end of it and I was like, yeah, I feel fairly satisfied with this. It didn't piss me off. There were no plot points, no stupid plot points like that. There was a reasonably satisfying twist. And it was one of those, like, they head faked you, but I didn't feel cheated. I didn't feel like they were trying to head fake me, because the main character was head faked as much as the audience. It's like when the main character is experiencing the same thing you're experiencing, you're just sort of like, what? I thought, oh.
They really hit it then.
Yeah. Right. Whereas if it's like...
sometimes they let you in on it, but the main character doesn't know.
Right, and they didn't.
That's
do that
interesting when they do that.
Right,
but really they catch everyone off guard.
Right. It was revealed to you.
Is caught off guard. Yeah.
Right. It was revealed to you when it was revealed to the main character. But sometimes it feels like the writers are trying. They're just trying to head fake you because they're trying to make their movie interesting by giving you a plot twist. Don't force a plot twist. It's either there or it isn't, and it was there for this one. So I'm not going to ruin it for you. Unlike all the other movies that I've ruined for you in this in this episode, but you seem to feel like you want to wrap it up. I think.
Well, I think let's watch a couple clips.
Oh, you got some more clips?
I think we'll wrap it up. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This. Stay off your phone. Don't walk where you shouldn't.
It is requested that all visitors remain behind the changing rails at all times.
It's really polite about it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that again. What?
Cool. Watch that gal over here.
Yeah.
She just like forces her way past the gate and crap. She's like on her phone.
It is requested that all visitors remain behind the changing rails at all times.
Or something. Turns around. Yeah, right. It's like, what are you doing?
Don't force your way past chains. If there's an opening,
Yeah.
go for it. If there's not, someone probably doesn't want you walking over there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This poor guy. Remember, it can happen to men too.
Seb, thanks for your time. We had challenges. I think it's nice probably for people to see us having an interview together on the other side of the pit wall. We had some fun on that side of the pit wall, but on this side, you're a good bloke, mate. So
Thank you
mate.
very much.
All the best. Cheers.
Thanks,
mate.
saying
That was
I'm
long.
not on the other one.
Huh?
No, it's good for my back.
How was that?
That's his Me Too moment.
Yeah,
That's his Me Too moment.
Sometimes it's just like, what made you think that was appropriate?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, bud.
I had a moment like that in a play recently. I was responsible for some foam cards that had some text on them, and I was marking the back of them so that way we could know what they were. And I'm like bent down on the stage, and all of a sudden I feel a finger next to my ass crack, and I'm like, what? It grabs my underwear waistband and pulls up, and I'm just like I froze. You know, I did the whole survival instinct of like, just don't move and they'll leave you alone. I froze, but then I did a slow turn up to see who the hell it was, and it was one of my castmates. And I just gave him the look like, if you do that again, I'll break your fucking hand off.
Yeah, that's not
I was
cool.
like, yeah, it's just like, and I'm sure he, in that moment, was just thinking, why the fuck did I do that? Because I'm sure you've all probably had moments, maybe you didn't reach your finger into someone's ass crack, but...
Yeah, that probably wasn't a mistake.
That probably wasn't what you did. But I'm sure everyone...
that was on purpose.
Everyone watching has done something and then immediately regretted it. Just been like, what was I thinking? Why did I think that was an okay thing to do?
It takes someone else to point it out, though. It takes that moment of...
Some people...
It is requested that you stay behind the chains!
That all visitors... Yeah.
He was so polite about it, but he was just shouting at the top of his lungs.
Right.
She's like, I can't believe this bitch.
There's a point where I'd have just been okay with him just shooting her. You know? It's like...
That's going a little too far. Well, we need to be careful talking about shooting people before this next clip. You get the wrong idea.
See it shaking, it kind of make me nervous.
It's cold outside.
Yeah, it's cold?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Okay, what's this right here?
That's my penis.
That's your penis, alright. Sorry about
Because you thought it was going somewhere else.
What's this right here? It's like,
that's my
my
penis. Oh, it's your penis. Okay. So, alright. Do you remember your graduation in high school?
Not really.
And this actually might
Barely.
be college graduation or something.
But not really.
But I remember mine for two reasons. One, me and one other person were the only ones that didn't have like honors things on, because we were like that. We were like a small homeschool thing.
Right.
And
we're only like
they all really
1,000
gave
of
a
you.
shit. And we're trying hard, like except me and this other guy.
Yeah.
So we didn't have honors anything, but I didn't have that. And then this kid who had just came in like the year before, and after that year, they didn't. The whole family left that school, but the principal really had sucked up to that family and was like really like, I don't know if they were like providing money or something, but she just like, she had this weird sort of interest. But the principal was weird.
Yeah.
If anything, I got like Me Too moments from her, like just randomly. She'd just come up and start massaging people's shoulders, and no one ever thought it was okay. So I don't know what she was doing.
But no one wanted to tell her.
What do you say? I understand, like you're like frozen, like
right?
Don't
Yeah, where you're
fucking
just
touch
like
me, principal.
Yeah, right. Yes, I am uncomfortable with this
Yeah.
physical contact that I'm experiencing in this moment.
But when they went to call my name, because it's in alphabetical order, and we were sitting in order, she ends up, when it gets to me, she skips my name and says the guy after me first. Then, oh, I'm sorry, I know the other one. It's like, you idiot. She was the worst.
I remember the joke about you hearing her with her hooves walking down the hall because she had always wore the high heels, and it made this particular sound that kind of sounded like hooves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Her clapping around.
Yeah.
Just spawn of the devil.
I remember you said that, and the class laughed like more than just you thought it was funny.
For what? Huh?
The hooves joke.
Oh yeah. Well, I got more than I thought. So here's that.
Julie Jerkoff. Forgive me, Kirkhoff.
So, that was bad, but not that bad. Let's get that jerk off up here.
How much you want to bet she made that mistake because she was joking about it with some staff in a back room before that? That whole, it's like, where your eyes are, that's where you're going to go. It's like, don't even go there if you don't want to accidentally say it.
See, I named these clips, and I don't even remember, because these are all just like cringy kind of moments. I don't even remember. Oh, I remember this one's real bad.
Thank you so much for being here, and what is going on?
Well, this is going to be a Guinness World Record for the most number of people inside the bubble. We have 150 people here right on the platform to be inside a giant soap bubble. Okay, so we are ready to go, and can you just step a little bit back so we have more
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay, ready? There you go. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You popped the bubble?
Hang on. He just
Oh,
stepped
boy.
into like the bubble thing. What's going on?
Sorry.
They're live.
It's still on.
Sorry about that. Can you...
Dave's still on.
I'm sorry, Ed and Ann, we'll send it back to you, sorry.
Poor guy. Feel those moments where you've messed up.
Yeah.
That's just the worst. Just that feeling of, oh no. I think they probably attempted again afterwards.
I'm sure.
But he just ruined the segment
Right.
they were trying to do. He's like,
segment.
oh.
Yeah, it's like, can you try again? It's like, yeah, but it's going to take us 20 minutes to reset.
Like, yeah, but we got to do that too. Yeah, and the other people are like, we're live. You got to send it back. Oops. Yeah. He's very apologetic, though.
Yeah.
So does that count as round one, or?
Not off to a good start, that one.
No. Oh, yeah. Whoever bet on him is like, fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Your hand underneath the trigger guard. Pull your palms together. So both your hands are going to sit on the left-hand side of the pistol. You're going to lock out both your arms. You're going to push with your right and pull with your left. Focus on that front sight tip. Now, if you want on this 44 Magnum, you can shoot it single action.
Did you mean to do that?
Yeah.
Did you mean to do that? Yeah. No one believes that.
No, and look at his face. Like as it slowly, like you could like see the shock like set in. Because like I'm sure it hurt like to a degree. Like smack himself a little bit, like kind of, and then you see his face like slowly turn red and like kind of change. So let's watch it again.
Did you mean to do that?
Did you mean to do that? Yeah.
Your hand underneath the trigger guard.
And then just
roll your palms together.
Like, I'm sure he messed up his wrist.
He's
not ready.
You're going to lock out both your arms. You're going to push with your right and pull with your left. Focus on that front sight tip. Now, if you want on this 44 Magnum, you can shoot it single action.
Did you mean to do that?
Yeah.
Some people are bullshitters in their natural state.
No, he's just he's in charge, so he's got to be confident.
Yeah, I meant to do that. Just shut the roof, but I felt good about it.
Little tip: don't demonstrate with a loaded handgun. Unload it for your demonstration because it's not. I mean,
don't play with
that
the
wasn't
single
that
action.
guy's first time holding or handling a 44 Magnum. But
Yeah.
when you're presenting in front of people, I don't care how comfortable you are, you're in an altered state, and any of the safety precautions you might normally do, you're going to forget to do them. You're just going to forget to do them.
Yeah, guns are not a joke. Don't play around with them. They're not toys.
Yeah.
You can have fun with them.
Right.
But they're not toys.
But never, always...
Yeah, treat them with the respect they deserve. All right. So, these next two clips are actually very personal to me.
Okay.
Do you remember back at school they had chapel?
Yeah.
And I played a couple of them. And not just with the church band.
Which
I played a
which
couple
school?
with the second one I went to with Dustin.
Okay.
Because we played two chapels as Epic, the band. And I have some clips from the second one. I don't think you would have seen it.
No,
I think
not
the
live.
second one happened.
I graduated by then, I think.
Yeah, and I think I was even at the homeschool thing that I was doing at that point. So I wasn't even over. That timeline's weird to me. But we played at chapel, and Dustin, he had his sermon and stuff. He gave that. We had our songs. We're playing it, and partway through, he decides to. He has this cross that he puts up, and this is. It's a cool visual. It's a really cool prop and everything, but he didn't tell us how intense he was gonna get. So
I think I have seen this.
we
but
all
in
got
video.
kind of taken by surprise a little bit. So there's a moment, and you can see it on my face. I'm playing bass, where the moment I feel like it slips a little out of control, and I'm like, ah. So let's take a look at this. There's a few things I'm going to point out throughout. Just like right before. You don't have to hear too much of his saying. As they start speaking.
Guys, this is what Christ did for us. He said in Romans 8, it says, and it is written,
And he can't see it, so
he's
he
legally
smashes
blind.
everything against his face.
Nay,
It
I
sounds
say
really
unto
funny.
these things that we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present or to come, nor height, nor depth, nor other creatures shall be able to separate us from the love of God, who is Christ our Lord. It says, Christ died for us on the cross. Christ was pierced through the hands and the feet with nails through his hands and his feet.
Yeah. So we didn't really work out exactly what we were going to play at this point, so we just were like, I guess we're vamping.
It says we are more than conquerors in 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 10, that we are weapons of warfare, not carnal. Christ died for us.
Got Marco to help him out, which he regrets, I'm sure. So actually helps him nail it in.
When Christ is upon the cross, he said, my God, why have you forsaken
That
me?"
moment.
Christ died for what? We don't even deserve. We don't get what we deserve. We deserve
It's
hell.
like, wow,
Christ
Dustin.
died for us. He took
Instead
the
of
nails
screaming.
in the hands and in his feet. Three nails for us and hung upon that cross until he died. He gave up his spirit and came back for us. Christ loved us and died for us.
He's less strange now than he was then.
Watch. Oof. Poor Marco.
He hung upon that cross for 7
Marco's hand, the real MVP.
He didn't deserve that death. He lived a sinless life.
That's good.
Christ loved us enough to go through that, to live, and then he rose again. That was the beauty of it.
It was not coordinated. Why would we coordinate these things ahead of time?
Because that would mean that Dustin thought it through.
Hey, he thought through enough to have that cross there, and that's more than I thought it through. Because maybe if I thought this through, I wouldn't have
What
been
we
there.
didn't deserve. When Christ died, the veil was torn, not only symbolizing that we have direct access to God, we can boldly enter through the throne. Not only that, it said
Like I just have a
God's
great.
veil was
He's yelling.
torn. It was like he was mourning for his son. He was with his veil. God was out his son. That was the first time ever. Foundation of everything.
like this thing.
Woo! Why? Did you just want us to end on a sour note?
No, we're going to end on a cool note, which
Okay.
is where I played a sweet bass lick that I'm still almost impressed by. So listen to the bass part.
Lord, let your sleeping giant rise.
So it was back in the day.
Yeah, it was
Still had it.
definitely better than everything else that was going on.
It's just, it's my MO. I show up and I just shine through. Yes. Man. Yes. So.
Yeah, I remember I was originally going to participate in one of those, but I was playing guitar, which I'm not a guitarist. I don't know why I was playing guitar. But I wound up backing out, and that's probably one of the only times when I've just, quit on someone almost towards, just, abandoned them because I couldn't take it.
Yeah, I forgot we even had you on this guitar at one point.
Yeah. Well, and I think I was on guitar because Alex only did drums, and I only did drums, but Alex was more sensitive at the time, and you know how that goes, how that went, how that went.
And you saw what I did. I just learned everything else. I'm like, okay, y'all got it. I moved on.
Yeah.
I still love playing drums though. I love all of them all the instruments that I play at this point. I need to get better at keys. But man, just play. It's so much fun.
One of these nights when you're actually in town, and Royce is doing a gig, you got to come out.
Yeah.
It's a local band in this area called Umbra Luna. My our old drum teacher plays for them. They do. He describes it as acid jazz, and I've never heard that term before he said it.
Would he describe himself as old? You referred to him as the old drum teacher.
Former. It's not an age thing. It's just he was my drum teacher before.
Yeah, no, I knew what you meant. Just wanted to be a dick. Yeah. Yeah, no, we gotta check them out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good. Anyway.
Sounds good, yeah.
I think that's it. That's all for today, folks. This was Live in the Moment.
Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check us out at our locations. If it says on our lower third here, we'll catch you guys next time.